Hi, and welcome back to an episode of the Emmy Awards. I know it's been nearly 6 months since I posted an episode, and first things first, this will be audio only going forward, at least for the time being. Part of what took me so long to get back into the rhythm of podcasting was that the audio and video editing is a really big time commitment, and I have a full-time job now, and I just didn't feel like I could make that commitment. But just focusing on audio and not having to edit a video and get the audio to match up with my video perfectly is a lot easier. So that's why this will be on Spotify and Apple Podcasts only. No YouTube for the foreseeable future, if anybody cares. If there's anybody who you're used to watching the podcast like in video format and this isn't exactly your speed, I'm really, really sorry about that. Like, genuinely, I personally like watching podcasts, which is why I started the video in the first place, but this is just all I can handle. So this episode's just going to be me catching up with you, telling you where I've been, what I've been up to the last 6 months of my life, and hopefully getting some idea of what the podcast will look like going forward. So hi, my name's Emi. If this is the first episode you stumble upon, I started this podcast when I was living with my parents. Post-grad, I was really lost and I needed some kind of outlet, and this felt like a very accessible way to do it. I got to 16 episodes. I really loved doing it. The last month that I was podcasting, it really got sporadic because I was traveling and I was consistent there for a while, and then things got kind of crazy. I originally intended to keep this pretty consistent even with my move to Los Angeles and my job. I hadn't intended to just drop it. And a big reason it took me so long to get back into it was because I had recorded an episode 17. And so I always had it in my to-do list to just edit that episode and get that episode out, even if it was late. But that episode, I recorded it a couple days before my childhood dog passed away, and it was really hard to watch myself. And I mentioned that she was sick, but I didn't know how serious it was, and it's just it was very, this might not make a ton of sense, but it was really hard to watch and edit that with the knowledge that the next week after that would be really rough and really I had no idea when I filmed that video how overwhelming and devastating that next week of my life was going to be. So I couldn't bring myself to edit it because it felt like a time capsule of a time in my life that I didn't want to be reminded of. And the last podcast I recorded, it was originally about my best and worst birthdays because I was filming it right before my birthday week. So I was going to release it the week of my birthday. So then months went by and it started to feel outdated anyway. And then I didn't want to do the audio, and it took me a really long time to start up again. Once I have momentum and things, I'm really good at being consistent to the best of my ability. But when I don't do something for a while, it's hard for me to pick up where I left off. It's a big struggle of mine. So that's why it took me so long. But yeah, the month of June was really stressful. I got a job offer and told them I could start in July. So the month of June was just me packing, figuring out housing stuff. It was just all hands on deck to get me to have everything set to move the beginning of July. And I had my birthday. and I had a trip planned. It was it was a very, very stressful week. I recorded the podcast on Wednesday, I believe, of that week, and then my childhood dog passed away on Friday, the 17th. And then that next Tuesday was my birthday. Me and my sister went to a small town in Connecticut. And then that Friday I had a flight to move out to LA. So it was a whirlwind. It was really crazy. I do have to say, I am kind of grateful that I moved away like immediately after she passed away, because I had been living like with her and like in my parents' house like for 6 months, and it was just me, my parents, and the dogs. So I don't know, they were like my only company, and I saw her every day, and I helped give her insulin a couple times if my parents needed it. Like especially after my mom got a job, like if I was the only person home, like I took care of the dogs to the best of my ability, like and so I think it would have been really hard to keep living there. Like I think starting in a new place was really, really helpful in me processing her passing away. I've never lost a pet before besides my birds, and this was just different because I had her since I was like 9, and it was just very sad because she was diabetic, and I knew she had like, you know, waves of not doing really well, so I didn't understand the severity when she started like deteriorating. Like I didn't understand the severity. I thought she was going to be okay, and so it all happened really quickly, and it was really hard, and I didn't intend to like cry about this, but anyways, it was really hard for me to edit that episode because I had a lot of like anger towards myself about not like I wish I could go back to the 6 months I lived there, and like even though I did like pet my parents' dogs and play with them, like I wish I had taken a photo of her like every day. Like I wish I had done more, and so it's just hard for me to it was hard for me to watch back that and kind of be mad at past me for not realizing the scope of everything that was happening, and not being prepared for it. So that's why it took me so long to get back into podcasting. I live in LA now. That's another thing that was really overwhelming, was moving. I mean, the first few months, I moved at the end of June and started my job in July. So I had like about a week to settle in somewhat, get all my furniture. I had ordered a bed frame and a sofa, and that was it. The sofa didn't come right away. I didn't have the sofa for a while. And I like, the first couple nights I just had the mattress. And then somebody came to help build my bed, the frame. So stuff like that, like there was a lot of stuff that I didn't have off the bat. I didn't have like a nightstand. I didn't have like anything, like any tables, like, so my parents, like we went to IKEA, like some vintage stores to get furniture, and yeah, so I got settled in honestly pretty quickly. I have to say the moving process, I feel like I got very lucky, because touring apartments when you're not in the state is like really hard. And so I got really lucky that I found a good place and it wasn't a scam. And yeah, and that it all worked out. I am a professional newspaper designer now, which is really, really exciting. And crazy to think about, because I've been like I've been using InDesign since I was like 15 years old. So it's just crazy that now I do it every day. And that's like my professional job that I like get paid to do. It's a great job. I really like my hours. It's been great. I really am enjoying my job and my routine and my schedule. And living in LA is great. I love living here. I think I said in a podcast episode once that like part of the reason I wanted to move to LA, like that, like maybe I didn't say it in a podcast episode, but the reason I wanted to move to LA specifically was because I grew up in Maryland, right outside of DC, and I knew I didn't want to live in DC. And I even looked for jobs like in Maryland, like in the DMV area when I was living with my parents, just so I could save up some money. And so many of the like publication centric graphic design jobs, which is like what I was looking for ideally, was like newspaper or magazine design. So many of them were like political things, and like the first like newspaper designer job or like magazine designer job that I found was like for a right-leaning publication. And so I was like, well, I'm not, like, it was just stuff like that where I was like, I don't really personally. I also, when I was at Kenyon, as much as I loved Kenyon, like the place held a lot of memories for me, good and bad. And even when things changed for me and I felt very different and I met new people, there were some things that I felt like I just was always going to be reminded of, like in the fall, like something, like, you know, and I felt the same living with my parents in Maryland. Was like I would drive around and I would be like, I just don't have the best memories of growing up here. And even like DC, the city itself, which like I didn't live in DC, but like I would go to DC and I didn't have the best memories associated with DC, so I didn't want to live in DC. And I knew I wanted to live in a city, because as much as I loved going to college in rural Ohio, like genuinely loved it, I knew that I wanted a change of pace post-grad, at least for a while. And the reason I didn't want to live in New York was because I really love driving. It's like a very big coping mechanism for me. It's like one of the few things that I feel like I can do like 100% like mindfully. That's not a word, but like I'm not good at like, if I'm watching a television show, like I'm on my phone. If I am like if I'm working, like I'm listening to a podcast or music or something, like I always have to have a few things going on in my brain, to like, and I know that's probably unhealthy, but like, I'm really not good at focusing on one thing at a time, and like fully paying attention to that one thing. And I'm really not good at like being off my phone. I literally like earlier this month, or at last month now, since it's December 1st when I'm recording this, at some point in November, I was like really struggling mentally, and I was like, I'm deleting all my social media apps. And I set a notification on my phone to like download my apps like a week from when I decided I was going to delete them. And I literally, like, I didn't last like a day. In my defense, I decided that on a Monday, and then that Tuesday was Taylor Swift pre-sale. So like, what was I gonna do? Like, not be on Twitter? Anyways, so yeah, I'm not good at not like checking my phone, and the only time that I like 100% don't check my phone is when I'm driving, because I can focus 100% on the driving and on, like, I don't check my phone. I don't think about my phone. And so it's a very, like, I love driving. Genuinely, I love driving. And I wanted to live somewhere where I could drive. I also really wanted to live somewhere where it would be warmer more often, because with COVID, I like to do as many things outdoors as I can, just because it's safer in the long run. I still mask indoors, and I I'm still careful in general, even when I'm doing things indoors. But it's nice to be able to like grab lunch with somebody in like November outside without with being able to reduce that COVID risk, if we're like in a patio or something. So that is really great. And I also, again, loved living in Ohio genuinely. And I like the cold, like I like cold weather. But I wanted to live somewhere where it wouldn't be that cold. And honestly, so far, I really like the LA weather, because even when it's like cold and gloomy, like I can wear a sweater and I don't have to worry about wearing a jacket or like layers. And that's like one thing I've always hated about like cold weather is layering. Like everybody's like, that's what you gotta do, layers. I literally hate layers. Like I want to wear one sweater and that's it. And I can do that in LA. I mean, it's just now December, so maybe it gets colder in January. I don't know. I've only been living here for a little bit. And honestly, being in close proximity to Hollywood and all of that is really cool. I literally went to the Bachelor Mansion because they were having an estate sale, and it was like a half hour away from me. Like if I was living in New York or DC, like I wouldn't have been able to just go to the Bachelor Mansion, you know? So, I really like it. Even like David Dobrik's pizza opening, I went to that. I did not wait in line because I had work at 3 p.m. that day, and I honestly, like, maybe this was stupid of me, but I didn't think that many people were going to wait in line, because I was like, who likes David Dobrik anymore? Like, but I guess a lot of people do, because I saw a tweet saying that somebody waited 8 hours in that line. I literally, like, I got there at like 12:40 because the opening was at 1, and I was like, oh, I'll be fine. The line was crazy. Like, I'm sure people started camping out the night before. I don't even know. But it was still fun, even though I obviously didn't wait in line. It was fun to just be able to, like, go to that and, like, I don't know. I like living. I like LA. I find it very fun. I went to the Funko Pop store in Hollywood and got a custom Funko Pop. You can only do that in the Hollywood store. And I get Wednesdays and Thursdays off, so which is really great, because any like touristy stuff that's like busy, like it's not really when I'm like off work. I like to go to the Grove once a week, and I go on my days off, and like there's nobody there on Wednesday. Like it's not like completely empty, but I went on a Sunday and it was like crazy compared to like Wednesday. So yeah, I'm really enjoying living in LA. I have seen, let me see, what celebrities have I seen? I saw Lauren from Fifth Harmony. I think, yeah, I saw Lauren from Fifth Harmony, but I was in my car and I saw her on the side of the road when I got lost trying to go to a Starbucks drive-thru in North Hollywood, and so I had to turn into a side street to like turn back around, and I saw her like on that side street there. But I was driving, so it was like, what was I going to do, yell out my window? No. So I saw her, and then one time when I was at the Grove, I saw one of the actors from How I Met Your Father, but he was wearing like a hat and he was eating dinner, and I made eye contact with him and he didn't seem like he wanted to be bothered. And I'm not like a particularly big fan. I don't even think I could tell you his name. I don't even think I could tell you his character's name. Oh, Jesse. Jesse is his character's name. But anyways, I don't know the actor's name. So I didn't go up to him because, you know. And another time when I was also in my car, turning into the Grove parking lot, I saw Kendall from Ari's season of The Bachelor, who I love Kendall. She's moving to Germany now. I walked around the Grove and I was like, maybe she's like, I was hoping that I would run into her in the Grove because I would have asked for a photo, but like I was in my car. So, yeah, not that anybody cares, but just like fun little tidbit. But yeah, living in LA has been really fun. I'm still trying to make friends. Here, I had one really close friend, who we were like acquaintances at Kenyon, but then we hung out a lot, and she became one of my favorite people, and I consider her a dear friend now. I don't know how she feels about me, but she moved, and since then I've kind of, not had as many friends. So if you stumble upon this, my name's Emi and I live in LA if you want to hang out. I have a cat. Speaking of cats, I volunteered to foster a kitten. I haven't been assigned a kitten yet because it's like slow kitten season. So, but I did a whole like orientation. I'm on like the roster. I get weekly email updates about how many kittens have been entered the foster program. So I'm just patiently waiting for a foster kitten. But besides that, there's not been a ton going on in my life. Midnights came out by Taylor Swift. That's really fun. Obviously didn't talk about that last time because it was June. So that's crazy. Renee Rapp released her EP, which is amazing. I'm pretty sure actually in the last podcast episode, I mentioned Tattoos by Renee coming out, which is crazy because that feels like 5 years ago. I couldn't get tickets to Renee's show. I know they added an extra LA day, but it's like in a few days and I have work. If it was like a Wednesday or a Thursday, I would probably try to get tickets, but like it's a Tuesday, which means I'd have to request off for work. And that just like seems like a hassle right now at the last minute, especially because I'm going to have to like request time off for traveling probably. Anyways, what is this podcast if not a place for me to ramble? But let me see. Is there anything... I feel like this episode's not going to be that long, but I think that's okay because it's like ooh. Sorry, I just had a thought. I'm trying to think of like what I... Besides life updates, I do want to say that the Bachelor in Paradise finale is fresh in my brain, and if anybody has any thoughts, particularly about the Greg, Victoria, Johnny triangle fiasco, I have so many. But I don't know. I feel like by the time I edit this and upload it, that's going to be old news. But yeah, I have to say, just recording the audio, I have no idea how long it is now. Like, I don't know how long this is because normally when I'm recording a video, it tells me. And I don't know when I started filming this. Like, genuinely no idea. Like, I think it's been at least a half hour, but I think that's it. I thought I was going to have more to talk about, but I'm like, I don't really know. Living in LA has been really fun. I'm genuinely enjoying it. I think the one thing that I'm struggling with is making friends because I work remotely, and even like working remotely, I feel like I'm the youngest person on my at least the people I talk to every day. A lot of them have worked at the company for like 5 to 10 years, and I'm just like, so it's just hard because I'm like, I don't know how to like meet people, and even the people I do know, I feel like, not that I can't be friends with people who are older than me, but it's just like, how am I going to befriend somebody who has like a kid, like kids and a family? When I'm just like a 23-year-old living by myself in a new city. So, but I don't know. I'm excited to start this podcast up again. I recently have gotten into film photography, which is really exciting. I mean, I've been taking photos on disposable cameras for like a couple years now, but I have this film camera that my mom gave me that she used to use in the 90s. And I have had it for close to 3 years. Now it's been 3 years. Yeah, no, it's been 3 years. I think she gave it to me in 2019. And I just have never used it. Started using it. It works great. I got my first film developed and it works. So that's really great. Just watched the show Wednesday. I loved it. Jenna Ortega, Queen. I also am watching The Sex Lives of College Girls religiously because I love Renee Rapp. I'm in a rewatch of Gilmore Girls. Sorry, now I feel like I'm just talking to fill time, which I probably shouldn't. If I have nothing else to say, then I think that's okay. So if this episode was shorter than normal, sorry about that. I need to learn how to time myself with these. This is my first audio only where I'm not talking into a camera. So I'm still figuring things out. I will come prepared with topics and stuff next time. I just wanted to do a life update of what happened, what's been going on the last 6 months. But I honestly feel like that didn't take that long to explain. Sorry about that. But yeah, I promise I'm back now. I have Wednesdays and Thursdays off, so I plan to record these either on Wednesday or Thursday and have them out Fridays. So that's my goal. So I have 2 days to record and edit them. Anyways, thank you so much for tuning in to the Emmy Awards. Please make sure to, I was going to say and subscribe, but this isn't on YouTube. Make sure to follow me on Apple or Spotify podcasts. My social media will be linked in the description. You can find me on there. Thank you so much for tuning in, listening to me chat, ramble. Very excited. I'm very excited to be getting back into this, and I promise that I will be consistent. I promise. Anyways, I didn't give an Emmy Award out because I don't really know. My gut instinct is to give one to my to honor my dog who passed away, because I feel like I talked about her a lot in the episode, but I don't even know what award I could give that could fully encapsulate what she meant to me, and how much I miss her. And I make sure now every time I talk to my parents to ask how the other dog is doing, Ramon, because I feel like I didn't ask about them enough. Last thing, and then I promise I'm going to wrap up, but I had these dogs. We got them when I lived in Brazil the first time when I was 9 through 11. And then I had them in all through high school. And then when I moved to college, my parents moved to Brazil and my dogs went to Brazil. So I saw them very sporadically, especially because there were a couple of years where I just didn't really go to Brazil, mostly because COVID. And then, but there was 1 year where in 2019, when I would see my parents for breaks or vacations, the dogs would stay in Brazil. So I didn't see them that much. And I feel I don't know. I thought about that a lot because I feel I don't have enough I don't have a ton of pictures of them. Especially because I lost a lot of the photos I took before 2017. I don't know where they went. I swear they're on a pen drive somewhere. But I don't have them. I only have starting from 2017 when I got my Mac. And I don't know where the rest of my photos are. And a lot of the photos I have of my dogs were there. And so I kind of, right after she passed away, I scoured for any photos I had, and I really didn't have a ton. And it made me, like I was saying earlier, especially mad at myself from like, it made me really mad at past me from when I was living with my parents for those 6 months that I didn't take enough pictures and I didn't appreciate my dogs enough. So now I make sure to always ask about Ramon. And my dog's name was Pimienta, which means pepper in Spanish. We called her Pepa for short. And I miss her, and she was a very sweet, funny dog. She used to pee standing up. Like, she'd do a handstand to pee because she wanted to pee exactly where Ramon peed. So she did a handstand because she was small and that was the only way she could reach. She had the cutest little bark, and it was, she was just such a sweet, kind, funny dog. And I miss her, and I feel like I didn't appreciate her enough. So thanks for listening. Sorry this episode was a roller coaster. Do all that stuff I said before about following me. I lost my train of thought. Anyways, sorry again. Next podcast episode will be a lot more organized. Hopefully this will be out Friday the 2nd. If not, it'll be out Saturday the 3rd. And then every Friday from now on. So, or maybe every Saturday from now on. Okay, I'm like 99% confident I can do Fridays, but if I can't, then it'll be Saturdays. Anyways, love you. Thank you so much. And yeah, thank you for listening. Thank you for being patient. If you care enough to listen to my podcast despite me disappearing for 6 months. Anyways, bye. Thanks again.